I didn't plan to say this out loud. I'm sitting here because the house is quiet, and it feels like it might stay that way whether I speak or not. My name is Arthur. I'm 73 years old. That number still surprises me when I hear it. It sounds older than I feel, and younger than my body tells me I am. I've learned that when time starts running short, memories stop lining up politely. They arrive all at once. Not the dramatic ones, the small ones. The ones that never seemed important enough to mention. I keep thinking about silence, not the peaceful kind, the kind you carry. The kind that settles into your chest and makes itself comfortable. I was good at that kind of silence. People used to say I was steady, reliable, easy to live with. I thought those were compliments. Maybe they were. I'm not so sure anymore. I grew up in a house where quiet meant survival. My father worked long hours and came home tired in a way that didn't leave room for questions. My mother learned to speak with her eyes. I learned early that words could complicate things. Silence kept them smooth. So I got very good at not saying things. I carried that skill with me like an inheritance, into my marriage, into my friendships, into rooms where something important was happening, and I chose to sit still instead. At the time, it didn't feel like a choice. It felt like restraint, like maturity, like being the bigger person. There's a moment that comes back to me more often than I expect. I'm in my early 30s, standing in a kitchen that smelled like burnt toast and coffee that had gone cold. My wife, Helen, was leaning against the counter. She looked tired. Not angry, just worn thin. She said something then. I don't remember the exact words. I remember the way her voice dipped at the end of the sentence, like she was testing whether it was safe to finish the thought. I nodded. I listened. I didn't interrupt. And I didn't answer the part that mattered. I told myself I was giving her space, that I didn't want to say the wrong thing. That silence was better than clumsy honesty. That night, she turned away from me in bed, not sharply, just enough to notice. At the time, I noticed I just didn't follow the feeling anywhere. Years went on like that. Nothing exploded. That's the part that fooled me. We stayed married. We raised our daughter. We attended birthdays and funerals and school plays. From the outside, it looked like a good life. Inside, there were conversations that never quite finished. I thought silence was neutral. I didn't understand it could be heavy. As I got older, the pauses grew longer. Helen stopped asking certain questions. I stopped pretending not to notice. We moved around each other with care, like people sharing a space where something fragile had once broken. I remember the last real argument we had. It wasn't loud. That's what stays with me. She was sitting at the table, hands folded around a mug she wasn't drinking from. She said, very calmly, that she felt alone even when I was in the room. I opened my mouth. I closed it again. I don't remember what I said instead. Something safe, something reasonable. Something that didn't touch the truth. She nodded. That was worse than if she'd shouted. That was the beginning of a different kind of quiet. Helen passed away 9 years ago. Cancer, fast enough that there wasn't time to rearrange the past. People told me I'd been strong. They said I was composed. I stood next to the bed and held her hand and spoke about practical things. There were words I never said because I was still afraid of saying them wrong. I tell myself sometimes that she knew, that people can feel things without hearing them. I hope that's true. I don't know if it is. What I do know is that silence doesn't disappear when the person is gone. It stays, it echoes. I carried it into old age without realizing it had weight. Now the house is quiet in a different way. My daughter calls. She's kind, busy. She asks how I'm feeling. I tell her I'm fine. I always tell her I'm fine. Sometimes I wonder what she hears in that word. I've had a lot of time to sit with myself, with the versions of me that nodded instead of answering, with the moments where something irreversible, quietly passed by because I didn't reach for it. I used to think regret would feel sharp, like a sudden pain. It doesn't. It feels like discovering you've been carrying the wrong thing for so long that you forgot what your hands were meant to hold. There are nights when sleep won't come, and I replay ordinary scenes as if they were unfinished sentences. I see myself at my daughter's high school graduation. She was smiling so hard her face looked like it hurt. She kept scanning the crowd. When she found me, she waved. I waved back. I didn't shout, I didn't call her name. I told myself she could see how proud I was. Later, she asked if I liked the speech she gave as class president. I said it was good. That was the word I used. Good. She smiled, but something flickered. Just for a second. I didn't chase it. At the time, I thought being measured was a virtue. I thought emotions were more real if they stayed contained. I didn't realize that silence can sound like indifference, even when it's full of feeling. After Helen died, people filled the house for a while. They brought food. They told stories. They said kind things about her, about us. Then they went back to their lives. I stayed. The silence changed shape then. It wasn't something I used anymore. It was something that used me. It followed me from room to room. It sat down beside me at the table. I started talking out loud sometimes. Not to anyone. Just to hear a voice move the air. I'd say things like, "It's colder today," or "I forgot to buy milk." Safe sentences. Harmless ones. I noticed even alone I avoided the dangerous words. The truth didn't arrive all at once. It crept in. Slowly enough that I could almost ignore it. It came when I tried to remember the sound of Helen laughing and realized I couldn't place it exactly. It came when my daughter hugged me goodbye, and I felt how brief it was, how practiced. It came when I understood that I had been present for my life, but not always available. Silence had felt like protection. But protection from what? Conflict, vulnerability, being misunderstood. And in avoiding those things, I had also avoided being fully known. That's a hard thing to see this late. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's ordinary. Because there were so many chances to set it down gently, and I kept carrying it instead. I don't think anyone else would describe me as cruel or neglectful. That's part of what makes this complicated. I showed up. I paid bills. I stayed. I just didn't always arrive where it mattered. There's a moment near the end that comes back to me more than the rest. Helen was in the hospital. The room smelled like antiseptic and old flowers. She was thinner than I was prepared for. She looked at me for a long time before speaking. She said, "You don't have to be quiet anymore." I laughed softly. I told her I wasn't. I told her everything was okay. She closed her eyes after that. I don't know if she meant then or always. I don't know if it was an invitation or an observation. I didn't ask. I was still holding the wrong silence, even with time slipping through my fingers. When people say there's still time, they mean well. But time isn't just minutes and days. It's permission. And I spent most of my life denying myself that. Now I wake up with an awareness I didn't have before. Each morning feels borrowed. Not frightening. Just then I find myself to say things I no longer have the right audience for. I practice them anyway. I say them to the empty chair, to the hallway, to the version of myself who thought quiet meant safe. What hurts isn't that I didn't speak sooner. It's that I believed silence was harmless. It wasn't loud enough to be noticed. It was heavy enough to change everything. I don't know how much longer I have. The doctors speak carefully. I appreciate that. I've lived long enough to recognize careful words. My body reminds me daily that it's winding down. Stairs take longer. Names slip away. Some mornings I sit on the edge of the bed and wait for myself to arrive. In those moments, I think about what remains after a person leaves. Not the objects, not the photographs, the impressions, the unanswered parts. I wonder what my daughter will remember about me. the steadiness maybe, the calm. I hope she also remembers that I listened, even if I didn't always respond the way she needed. If I could change one thing, it wouldn't be a decision or a path. It would be the weight I gave my silence, the way I trusted it more than my own voice. But wanting to change something isn't the same as being able to. So I'm saying this now, not as a lesson, not as a warning, just as a record of how it felt to carry something for so long that it shaped me without my noticing. Silence can look like strength. It can feel like control. Sometimes it's just fear standing very still. I don't expect anything from this being heard. I'm not trying to fix the past. I know better than that now. I just didn't want these words to disappear with me. If you're still here, thank you for sitting quietly with me for a while. If this stirred something, you don't have to name it. You can just let it be there. Sometimes that's enough.